Alright, everybody, and welcome back to the Roundup. Delighted to be joined by Rossville manager Josh Gardner. Josh, how you doing, mate?
Buzzing to be on, mate. I'm a late call-up here, so we'll get that in straight away in
Aye,
case I get me not being prepared or
we'll
anything
put
like
in
that.
that Dean Keenan let us down later on.
Aye, big time. So that's a bad one for Dean. But we'll get our day with him.
Aye, we'll get him back on eventually, and then I'll just cut him off and put somebody else on. Right, so we've got the West of Scotland first and second round yesterday. I won't read all the results because there's too many games, and then we'll go through the league stuff. But we will start with yourselves for yesterday, 4-0 against Kilbirnie. You've obviously sent me some of the clips today. Some of the football you played was brilliant, and this kind of, it's good that you're on because like we've spoke about this after the comments were made when myself and Johnny spoke about East Kilbride with Azza and stuff for that, playing good football but not necessarily getting the results. Some of the stuff he's played was excellent. I thought for the clips you've shown, the way that Kilbirnie pressed, they didn't press you as a complete unit and you just knocked it round them, were nice and patient, had some really good build-up play where maybe 10 passes at times, ended up in front of goal, missed chances that obviously we've spoken about it. I know you're disappointed that you missed. And another day it looked like it could have been a different result.
Well, I think the normal thing is, and I speak to Azza quite regularly, and me and him laugh at it sometimes because it seems to be any time our teams get beat without knowing what's happened, they all of a sudden just think, oh, it's because we play that style of football. Where, in actual fact, it's probably no. Like for example, you could even take Cali Braves a couple of weeks ago. Like, we played short most of the time, and then the one time we went long, we actually conceded for it straight away. It was a bit like, well, maybe that's not the safe way to do it type thing. But no, I thought I had done my homework obviously on Kilburn, and in fairness to Spenny, they had done their homework on us. They knew what we were going to try and play. And I felt the early parts of the game we were getting a bit of joy. And some of the clips obviously that you've seen, I felt as if we probably should have scored them, and on another day we normally would have. And I think probably in the last few weeks we've maybe not been doing that. But then they changed their approach a wee bit. They kind of went man for man on us, and the space never became in front of us anymore. It more became behind our midfield. And again, we still exploited that. We still done really, really well. But the second goal probably comes for trying to be that wee bit more direct, maybe miss a line out, and then we went in and we lose that. I think I sent you that as well, because that's probably the first goal we have lost for playing out, and I couldn't even tell you how the amount of times we do that. That's the first time I think we've lost a goal. Apart, I think the Port would have been the last time we lost. Remember that? I think you were there that night, the first
I was
one.
doing that night.
So when you actually put it into a success rate for the amount of times that we try it to we lose it, it's quite high, and I think it would just be roughly the same if we just went and kicked it up the pitch as well. But I think what it's important to do as well is, and I'm glad you asked me about it, because I think sometimes people think because we play this style of football and we play this way that it's just all short. It's no that. Like the main purpose of it, for me anyway, I don't know about guys like Azza and other guys that try and play like it, but for me it's dead simple. Like if I think it's a bit of a lottery, if I just go and tube the ball forward, then I need to rely on winning the first ball. A bit of luck's involved winning the second ball. Whereas I would just prefer, if I'm in charge of the team, then I'd prefer to try and coach us in a way that we can take out that element of luck and maybe put in a few patterns of play to get us up the pitch. But it's ultimately to score goals. It's to win games. And I think more often than not at Rossville, we've won games. We've won a lot more than we've lost. And it's been playing that way. So it's not a way that we do it just to be different. It's just purely because I think that's what will win us games. And I don't think we would win games going a direct approach. And it's been
I think
showing that.
obviously we talk quite a lot. Most
Yep.
weeks we'll speak after games, and for me, I think that what impresses me is the fact that your defenders and your goalkeeper have casuals know the right word. They're very comfortable in the fact that they know that they're getting pressed and they'll play it. For me, we use losing goals with the clips I've seen is it's sometimes, and it's what you get with young players, which you've obviously got a lot of, is that switching off for a wee second at maybe a set
Yeah.
piece, or it's not necessarily a pass that's caused the issue. It's been where they've just kind of no 100% been alert to something, and it's been a
Yeah.
split second too late, and then losing goals for that.
Aye, that's probably fair. We probably, I always say with my team, I feel as if we are really good at doing the hard stuff, and it's maybe sometimes the simple things that we switch off it. But when we get our days where we're doing the basics really well and we're doing all the other stuff, we're a top team to watch, probably to play as well. And but for me, like it's just part of the learning. And we've got guys on our team who have maybe played up the leagues and they've maybe not been quite fancied at other clubs, and now teams in the leagues are now looking at them. And
Aye.
that's just where we are. We're kind of in a place where we've not got a budget, we've not got stuff like that, so we need to develop them as best as we can. And you're maybe getting guys who were it maybe wasn't working out elsewhere, or you're getting under 20s players, or you're giving people the sort of lesson in the game, and they are learning on the job, some of them. But again, the other side of that is we've got like our captain Matt Russell, we've got our goalkeeper who's 37, 38, Toby, and we've got John Remick at the back who's been around the juniors for about 400 years, to be honest with you. And but again, with these guys, like you're getting a lot of feedback for these guys as well because they're enjoying playing a different style.
Aye.
They're enjoying it, and it's almost getting the love back for them in a way. But ultimately, it's about wins, and that's the reason why we play the way we play, because I think it's the best way to get wins. And I think more often than not, we've done that. We've not done it recently, obviously, but more often than not, we
I
do well with
suppose
it. And
having higher opposition you've played against, like you're talking about Cali Braves and Coburnie, no games you're on paper supposed to win anyway.
no,
So I suppose those aren't the worst. Obviously, the losing in the league last week was a disappointment.
yeah,
But we'll move on to the other games. For me, the result of the round, easily the Thorn beating the Bens 2-1. I think
aye, big time.
spoken about the Thorn a lot on the show this season, and I think that what they're doing is different class. I think the Bens are going through a bit of transition with the new management and trying to maybe see what's working for them and what players suit the way they want to play. But for me, the Thorn, different class. It was actually, I was hoping to get down to that yesterday, but like I said to you off camera, I've got decorating the house, so that's why I'm leaving in my usual spot. But I had to wait for delivery, so couldn't get down to it.
hmm
But I think Thorn need to take some amount of credit. 2-1. I mean, you played against them last year. What did you
Yeah,
think of them?
we actually played them. So we played them the first game of the season under Barry when Barry had them,
Mhm.
and they were a decent team then, if I'm being honest. And then Stephen McKnight took them the second time, and they were brilliant. And the guys are brilliant. The coaches are excellent there. I've spoke away to them before, and they're good guys. And again, they play a good style of football. But I love the way they do it. They're a club that even when they were in my league, I can't help but like them. I can't
Aye.
help but want them to do well because I quite like the way they go about it and the way they do things. And I'm no surprised, to be honest, when they went up to the third division, that they've done so well as well. They won yesterday. As much as you're going, oh, that's a great result, like that's maybe a shock of the round. But again, I was still a bit like, I'm not totally surprised
Aye.
by it either
No.
because they've got that quality in their team. They have got quality in their team. And I seen that yesterday the Bens missed a penalty as well. Now for me, like maybe that's just a wee bit of luck that I think you create yourself. And I think the
Aye.
Thorn have done that through a lot of hard work. And it's really good for the new management because I know Stevie's moved away to Australia.
Mhm.
And I think is it David? I
David
think
Watt, I think it is
it's
that's
David.
managing
Again, he's a nice enough guy as well. And that continuity, they seem to be really well at doing that. Like they've recruited after Barrett really well, and then Stevens obviously been part of his own contingency plan to get David involved, and it's just carried on. Do you know what I mean? And I'm no surprised in the slightest. I kind of felt I felt all the teams that came up for the fourth last year would have done pretty well when they came up.
it. Aye.
Obviously, I'd have liked that to have been us, but it's not to be. But no, they're a top side, and I think there's a bit more to come for the Thorn. I can see them maybe going up at one or two leagues again, if I'm being honest. And I think again, that just adds to that confidence bar again, doesn't it? Beating the Bens, and if they can take that into the league campaign, then the sky's the limit for the Thorn if they can keep going, keep pushing.
They are definitely one of the ones that I'd say are most geared to go through. Maybe I think they could go up this year, and the thing is, maybe the first division isn't a million miles away in a couple of years' time as well. Um, my old team, Craig Mark, massive improvement for them two each with Larg, lost 4-1 in penalties. Sang Larg's praises all season because they've been different class, sitting second in the Premier League. Craig Mark have lost every single game, most of them apart for the Nielsen game, I think. They've been absolutely battered, and
hmm
that's a really good result. I know they brought in a few players. Andy Strachan got him back for Glenafton, who was one of my players when I was there, and then Wishaw McGreer as well. the two of them will make a massive difference for me. I think that particularly Strachan is at that level. He's one of the best centre halves in the second division for me. I think he's really good. So it's clearly made an impact on their first game. But that's a big one for me for confidence for them as well, because you know
Hmm.
how it is. You've been at teams where you're losing every week and you think, oh, where's the win going to come? And even though they didn't win, I think that that's one you're thinking that might be a wee kind of something that'll help them kick on.
Hmm. Listen, I've been at clubs where they've been relegated before, and it's sometimes the wee cup games can be a welcome distraction as well in your league, and it is an opportunity to build confidence. And probably the manager, as long as managers never say it, but you're probably not going into the games thinking about you want to win the game type thing. You're more thinking about just give a performance, give something to build on for the following week. Because, and again, I say it at Ross Field, we're never going to win the Scottish Cup. We're not going to win the West. We're not going to win the South Challenge either. But if you can make a good account of yourself and you can make it worthwhile in the games and you can take something into your league form, then that's probably about the best you can do when you're coming up against teams like Largs who are flying. And you just hope that that means something. And that I think, like, I know it sounds daft. I know they've conceded 2 goals, but I think they've normally been conceding a lot more
I think
than
that's
that.
the
I
least amount of goals they've conceded in a game this season.
But again, that's and against the level of Largs. And I don't know what type of team Largs put out. I've not seen the teams, but regardless, they've got their tails up. They're full of
Aye,
confidence, and I hope they do, because speaking with yourself, you've told me how much a good club they are and how many good guys there is behind the scenes, and you weren't shy and tell me that it is a tough job as well, and it would be good to see them maybe kick on, and at least even if it's going to be a relegation, and make a fight at it as
aye.
well, and you're not going out in a whimper. And it seems if they're actively out there recruiting, then the guys are trying their best to turn it around, and that's all you can ask for sometimes.
Aye, definitely. A result for me that stuck out. Team that are hitting a wee bit of form. Dorai beating Maryhill 4-2. I think I mentioned it last week. Dorai beating Wishaw 3-0. That Chris and Graham look like they're starting to get the team turning. And there again, they're a young side. Got a wee bit of experience in there as well. But they're
Hmm.
a young side. And Maryhill, for me, I've got a soft spot for Maryhill, a team I played for a couple of times. I really like Mark Young. But I think that's another one that he'll be really disappointed that they've not been able to pick up a win, get themselves into the next round. But ultimately, I suppose it maybe allows them to focus more on the league. But it's games you really want to be winning, particularly against a team division below you.
Aye, definitely. And I think also you don't want to be conceding 4 goals in a game as well. But
No.
it's the same way. There's ways to win, there's ways to get beaten. They won't be happy with conceding the 4 goals. But again, they might have seen a lot of things in that game. I feel as if in these type of cup games, you learn a lot about your players and your team in general. And for me, even over the, like, personally, for myself speaking, even over the last couple of weeks where we've maybe not done quite well, I've kind of learned a lot and maybe used yesterday's game. It's almost like a dress rehearsal for how we might go and proceed going forward. And
Mhm.
I think you've got to take something for the games, and especially for teams like Dalry and Maryhill, when you're not going to make a big impact in the tournaments, but you've got to take something for them. And it's a great result for Dalry, but I was a bit surprised with that. More so the scoreline than anything else. I didn't expect to see them win. It seems quite comfortable.
Aye, because Maryhill, I think it was two each at one point. I saw Noah Young scored an absolute worldie, a free kick that Maryhill have
Oh,
put
it's
in the.
not at Maryhill, aye.
Aye, that's where it is. Good player, good young player.
I remember him for
Um,
last year with Glenville.
so he scored a cracking free kick, but it's one to be disappointed in. A couple of results to touch on before we move on. Uh,
Mhm.
Clydebank getting the win against Ardrossan. First game, I think, this season in 12, they've no won in the 90. But that might be like you're saying when we're talking about Craig Mark there, that Ardrossan, they've no maybe done as well this season as I think a lot would expect. But that's a result that can say, well, there is something there, we could maybe push on for that. Um, Pollock beating Giffnock 1-0. Pollock have had quite a few good wins recently.
Yep.
Granted, a couple of them are against lower division sides, but they've really been comfortable beating Hurlford last week. For me, Giffnock fall into that category again because that's a 1-0 defeat away to Pollock when Giffnock are having a really tough season. So it could be an indicator that they're going to kick on. And finally, Muirkirk beating Knightswood. That's a game that I actually really would have liked to have seen. Muirkirk, really young side. We spoke about before. Got a lot of boys that they took for the Ben's 20s last year. They're absolutely flying in the league, only lost one game. Knightswood haven't lost a game yet. I think they've won eight, drawn one, or seven and drawn one. Two teams banging form, and it looks like a nice tight game, but Muirkirk having a wee bit extra quality and getting themselves the win.
I think firstly on the Pollock game, obviously I know Maxie really well, and my best mate's just moved to Pollock as well, Jamie Bain.
Mhm.
And I was speaking to Jamie yesterday, and he was saying that Giffen had done really well. He said especially first half they were excellent, and they definitely made them work for the result. But I think that's credit to Giffen in that side. Just probably just in time for them to play us next week or not, to be fair. But they maybe get something for that game. But
Aye.
I know, like, when Maxie's played the lower league opposition, and especially if we've played them before, he's contacted me and asked me about them. So Maxie does his homework, so he's not exactly turned up to that game and he's just kind of took it as it comes. He does his homework on teams, so that's probably even more credit to Gifnett that they have ran
Aye.
them to such a tight result as well. In Muircup, um, who knows what's going on at Muircup? They're flying, the
Flying.
most informed team in the country. Then
I
I
know they can hardly put a foot around the now, and it's like I said, because they've got such a young team, it's so impressive. It's whether they can continue it, but I've said that maybe 3 or 4 weeks in the bounce, and they continue to they continue to get wins. I've
they
actually
probably
just
want you to keep saying it. I know.
I know. I've literally just had a message for Dino there. He's like, I can do it now if you need me.
Aye, pop on,
I
Dean.
I appreciate that very much, Dean, and I appreciate it's after the fact, but thanks very much, mate. We will get you on another time. Um, we'll move on to league action. Only one game in the Premier League, and that was Troon 4, Beith 1. Troon moved themselves into third place. I'm just going to get the league table up just now, but Troon moved themselves into third place. I'm not surprised that Troon won in a sense because they're a good
Mhm,
side. But Beith get the good win last week against the Borough, or 2 weeks ago,
mhm.
I can't remember now. But Troon, that's 4 wins out of five. Themselves and Largs are really putting themselves in a good position. That is, but it's
Mhm.
the fact that it's on paper such a convincing win against the champions of the last 2 seasons.
I think with Trinity, for me, I always feel as if Troon are capable of results like that, but they seem to always have that level of, maybe I'm wrong in saying it, but it seems to be a level of consistency where they could beat like a B, for example, or one of the top teams in the league, and then they could back it up with maybe like a draw or a defeat to a team that maybe they feel as if they should be winning. But you're never surprised really when you see them beating these
No.
teams, but when you see the scoreline, especially for Beef, because they're not normally a team that concedes loads of goals or, well, historically,
Well,
maybe
they'd only conceded seven in the first eight before yesterday, and I say it every week. If you can keep it to a goal a game at this
yeah,
level, you're always in with a good chance of winning.
I'd bite your hand off for a goal a game, 2 goals a game maybe. But no, man, that was an impressive result. But again, no a complete surprise either, if I'm being honest. And I do think Troon, a bit like Largs, they are capable of putting their runs together, and they're starting to do it as well. And I think the now for ending that league, it's try to keep on the coattails a wee bit of Clydebank and hoping that sometimes that they might hit that wee lull as well, which normally comes to teams like, I know Beaver have shown unreal consistency in the last 2 seasons in that league, but you've got to be put yourself in a position to be ready to pounce
Aye.
on it at least.
I'm looking at it the now. Beith are sitting in sixth place. Played nine, won four, drawn two, lost three. I always pin my colours to the mast early doors. Beith won't win the league. That kind of form's just never going to happen, particularly when you have Clydebank. No saying they will win the league, but when you've got Clydebank who are 7 out of 7, 7 points clear of you with 2 games in hand, hard to see where they're going to drop points just now. You've got the Drum who are still in a position if they win their game in hand, they go back into second.
Mm-hmm.
Even you look at Pollock, who a lot might say Pollock only having the best of seasons, but Pollock win their games in hand, they can potentially go into second place. You know what I mean? So they're still in the hunt as well. And then I think that there's starting to be a wee gap in the Premier League, to be honest, between the top 5 or 6 and the bottom kind of 7 or 8, where
Aye,
you're
aye.
seeing kind of. the form's no great. But I think that's a really important win for Troon if they want to have any chance to push it as far as they can.
I
Moving
think it's
on.
a case of
Oh,
the
sorry, on you go,
season.
mate.
I think it's a case of the season, Paul. Is you don't look at the league table now. I think it's still at that stage, and it's a case for like Pollux and your Clydebanks. Like I always say, try and look at the league table around about Christmas time, see where you're there, and then try and ignore it again until towards the end of the season. And because it can be a distraction, and I think for lags and Troon, if they're on that sort of upward trajectory, then just keep turning up game to
Aye,
game and try to win them, and then see what happens. Because you never know, you just never know.
aye, exactly. Um, First division, only 2 games on. Irvine Meadow 0, Glencairn 1, Petershill 1, The Rock 2. The Medda obviously having a really tough season. Won 1 out of 8. That's not a game you expect them to win. I think Glencairn that's them won 6 out of 8, drawn 2. Absolutely flying just now. I mean, they're probably the favourites to win it with themselves with Arthurlie. Um, but I think maybe 1-0 could potentially Medda might come away thinking, well, that could be an improvement. We're playing the best team in the
Mhm.
league at this moment. We've got a 1-0. They're trying to build on it, but they really need to get to the stage where they have to start picking up points to get themselves at that relegation zone. But Glencairn, on the other hand, are just plugging away and putting themselves in a great position to possibly win the league, but an even better position to get themselves promoted.
Well, they win their game in hand, don't they? They go 3 points clear,
Yep.
Glencairn. But uh, again, Glencairn, they're a team that I think they recruit really well. They didn't seem to lose loads of players that got to the Scottish Cup final as well. I know they lost Big Jack. Big Jack's somebody I know well, and he was desperate to get back to the Glens eventually, and
Mhm.
he's went back there. It's almost like a home for him, and I think bringing such a big goal scorer like him as well, who scored a load of goals for them's the difference. And they've got like wee Ryan McManus, who I had at Albion Rovers as
Mhm.
well, and they've got goal scorers in their team, but they've got a lot of good technical players as well. And I think they're one of the teams that they can mix it up.
Aye.
They can go long, they can go short, they can fight if they need to fight, and they're a good team with a good manager as well, and they demand a lot for them. But no, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest to see Glencairn winning that league. I think they've been pretty close to running about the promotion spots before, and I think they've got that wee bit between their teeth. I think they want to get up there. And there's a few that will be on the coattails of them as well, to be honest.
They're quite an understated team for me. You don't hear much about Glencairn. You don't hear, to be honest, you hardly hear anything other than they go and win, they go and put in good results. I mean, even that 3-2 against Cowdenbeath team, I
Mm-hmm.
know Cowdenbeath aren't having a great season in the Lowland League, but it's a team 2 leagues above you. They've had to score quite late on to beat you at their place. They just seem to go about their business quite quietly, and I think you're right. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them go up. On the other game in the first division, Petershill 1, St Rock's 2. The Rock, they're on a really good run as well. They've won 3 out of the last 4 with a couple of draws thrown in about either side of their wins. Petershill, very mixed bag. Won 4, drawn 1, lost 3. But I think the Rock's one of the teams that I know they've played more games, but they're same points as Arthurlie and Glencairn just now, and they are really putting themselves in a position to be fighting for promotion. And I think that the Premier League would benefit for a club like the Rock. I think that their
Yeah.
attendances would be really good. What they try and do at the club is really good. And I think that it would be nice to have somebody different like the Rock going up, to be honest, this year.
I agree. I agree. And again, they've took a lot of confidence as well for like the cups. They pushed Troon close. Was
Hmm.
it 2 weeks
One
ago?
a 1-0 they lost, was it?
I think so, and it went to penalties, didn't
Oh,
it?
sorry, but I was one each went to penalties.
Uh,
Aye.
and again, but again, a top side as well. But a bit like the Rock last year, like they were somewhere in that league last year where they would beat a couple of top teams and then get beat off the bottom ones. And I think for Kendo, he's probably looking just to get that consistency, that run of games. And I think the first division in general is one of the leagues that if you can put even 4 or 5 runs
Mhm.
together to a win, you can find yourself going shooting up a few places
Aye.
in the league. And but no, they're in a good spot. But it's a tight league. That's a hard one to call it. You've got Mayball even sniffing a bit there. You've got Thorn who got a good result against Eglinton yesterday, and then you've got Renfrew. And then you've got Dolzy and Izzy, Cumbernauld, two teams that won't go away quickly, to be honest
No.
with you. then obviously Colburn in there. I was quite impressed with them yesterday as well. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if they were a team that went and put a wee run together as well.
You look at the first division, you mentioned the teams like Renfrew, Maple, Thornywood, Cumbernauld. I would say they're four teams that you wouldn't necessarily pin on to say they're teams that are going to go and challenge for promotion, even though they're decent sides. They're all kind of, without it sounding disrespectful, more provincial teams. When you look
Aye.
at like Petershill, Kilbirnie, Kilwinning, Rob Roy, even Ardrossan with how they've been the last few years, the Medda down below that.
Mm-hmm.
But they teams are all kind of managing to keep themselves away. Whereas I know I'm surprised. I think Kilbirnie are actually better than the league position. But then you've got Kilwinning who are a bit of a mixed bag, Petershill a bit of a mixed bag. But that league's so tight that
It is.
it's easy to go and drop points. There's
I
almost
wouldn't be surprised if Cumbernauld had to jump up there just purely for the fact with Dolzy and Nizzy, and they guys have normally got promoted everywhere they've
Aye,
went.
that was pretty much what they did, aye.
Aye, that's like that is what they do, and Dolzy will love me saying that. To be fair, he'll be buzzing off that. But
Well, see, to be honest, you raised that point, right? See with the two of them, they won the league with Royal Albert, didn't they?
aye,
I
aye,
mean, that's like almost unheard of. You see where Royal Albert
they
they
get
harmed
promotions
them
with the
just now.
Thorn as well.
Aye, it's like Thorn new promotion. You see certain people in the Premier League that keep getting jobs and don't do terribly, but don't really do anything a note either. Then you've
Yeah.
got guys like that who consistently do well with teams who maybe don't have big budgets or anything, and they
Mm-hmm.
consistently do well. And I think that guys like them are the type of guys that teams in the Premier League should be looking at as well. Not to do Cumbernauld, do it their management team, but I do find it funny that you're getting teams who stick to the old kind of merry-go-round of managers sometimes.
Aye,
Got
definitely.
guys like that who have got a proven record
Mm-hmm.
at clubs who might not be massive clubs to go and do something with them.
I think what's probably quite evident to them as well, apart from the promotions, that they're a good management team is if you look at their squads, they have a lot of recurring players that go with
Mhm.
them elsewhere as well.
Aye,
Um, and they probably are two that they probably feel themselves they deserve a shot. But again, that might be the reason why they've left Forneywood and went to Cumbernauld because maybe they feel that they've got a better chance of getting. Because am I right in saying Cumbernauld was the team, one of the Prem teams that came down when was it six came down? Remember?
aye, aye.
So again, Cumbernauld will be actually up there. Who I think we forget sometimes how much of a big club they are as well. They've got their own pitch. They do really well, and they've obviously got aspirations of going back up into the Prem, and that's ultimately why they've hired they two because
Because it's
they've got a track
good
record on them.
managers. I know.
Right?
Moving on to the second division, Bonneton 1, Bellshill 0, Cambuslang 1, Whitletts 3, Lanark 1, Lesmahago 2, Ants 0, Larkhall 3. A result for me that I was a wee bit surprised at was Lesmahago beating Lanark. Lanark are in a real, they're a good side, Lanark. They're always in and about it. And a win for them yesterday would have kept them really right in the hunt for promotion. But Les Mahago, that's a big win for them after losing four at their previous five. So I was a bit surprised at that, but it's a really good win for them.
I do you know. I think I was surprised at it in a way, but Lesmahago are a dangerous team as well, who seem to score a lot of goals. They seem to be involved in
A
like
mental amount of goals.
a lot of like 3-8 games, 5-4s, and all that, like crazy games. Probably games that I know for a fact if I was on the sideline, it was my team. I wouldn't want to be part of it, to be honest. But
They're averaging 4.5 goal, no them, but in the games they play, they average 4.5 goals a game in the league per game.
that's what they're value for money, isn't
Aye,
they?
definitely.
but no, and I seen Connor's pretty on. No Connor, sorry, Darryl. It's because I'm getting these two mixed up because they're best pals.
Aye.
But Darryl's pretty honest about his team's assessment after games, and I think I seen he posted that it just wasn't good enough, and they got what they deserved. So they've obviously not turned up, and um, I'd expect them to bounce straight back because they've actually been really consistent since Darryl went in there.
Mhm.
And I don't think Darryl and his staff are used to losing a lot of games of football because they've been obviously successful at amateur level as well. And I would expect them to bounce back, but that could be a great platform for again Les Mahago, quite similar to the first. You go and put a few runs together, you could all of a sudden find yourself in the promotion spot.
Aye, it's a tight league. Whitletts beating Cambuslang, they've made the most Muirkirk being on cup duty. That's them both now played nine. Whitletts with a fifth win in the bounce in the league, 2 points off Muirkirk. So as much as we're talking about, I'll even talk about Nielsen in a second, but as much as we're talking about how impressive Muirkirk's results have been, Whitletts, I mean, lost one, drawn one, and won seven. Nielsen won seven, lost two. I mean, it's impressive form for the top three. And then just below that, you've got Lark Hall, who beat the Ants yesterday 3-0. And I think that the Ants aren't going to be a team that are going to push for promotion. But I think Johnny's had a good start there. They're a good, solid team. And that I know for experience, they're a hard team to beat.
Hmm.
So going to McKenna Park and taking three off them and keeping themselves in that hunt. They're 3 points off of third spot just now, Lark Hall
Hmm.
leapfrogging Lanark after yesterday's game. That's a really good result as well for themselves and Whitletts.
No, I agree, but I think that can be a dangerous league as well in terms of like if you're St Anne's and you're looking at the league table because Force seem to be picking up a wee bit of
Mhm.
head of steam as well in the cups. Have had a few good
A
results, and
5-1 yesterday.
so if they go and pick up again and take that into their league form, I potentially could end up leveling points with you, and then again you're in a bit of a dogfight when you go down there. So I think as good as the guys are doing it, and it's probably want to start climbing the table a wee bit. And if you're looking as if you're not going to get promoted, then you certainly don't want to be in a dogfight towards the end of the season. I think you want to get the points as early as possible on that board.
Well, I can speak about that with Craig Mark last year in the same division. We when we came in, it was I think we're a point above relegation. I think we went something like 9 games unbeaten, shot up the league, looked like promotion, the kind of promotion spots wasn't a million miles away phase. Then we got a few injuries. The squad was really
Mhm.
depleted. We lost 3 or 4 games and then right back in it, and you're looking like you're going to get relegated again. And it is, you're 100% right. It's a tight one. Fourth, picking up some good wins in the cup. Might not translate into the league, but if it does, like you said, they're only 3 points behind the Ants. Bonneton beating Bells Hill yesterday have brought themselves back into it, 3 points behind the Ants. Bells Hill only 3 points behind the Ants. A team as well who need to be careful is Cambuslang. They could be looking at
Mhm.
back-to-back relegations, and again, it's very, very early, but they're no really picking up points. They've won one at the last 6 league games.
Mhm.
They, it's it's like you said, you can get drawn into that, and it's hard to get yourself away from it.
You can, Paul, and you probably know it as well for being at Craig Mark, but see when you start getting drawn into stuff like that and you go on that wee run, it's the feeling about the place, it's the
Mhm.
feeling about
It's tension.
training. It's like sometimes I feel as if it can get over analysed, like people are arguing with each other. Or I'm not saying that's what's happening at Canvas Line, but it can get horrible pretty quick. And I think that's why it can be a big danger when you go in there because it can. I've been at clubs before where I can remember when Albion Rovers got relegated out of League One into League Two, and I think at one point they were sitting third in the league, and then I
Mhm.
think they drew four each with East Fife away, and then all of a sudden I don't think they won a game until like January. But
Aye.
then the place just starts to feel different, and then see before you know it, you're in that habit of losing, and you maybe go a goal down in a game, and then people start thinking, "Oh, here we go, we're back
Mhm.
to this," and you almost feel like that, even that pressure, just even get the first goal sometimes, and it can just build so much tension and anxiety in the squad. And I think it's important that I don't look at the league table this just now, but be wary as well and
Aye.
realise that you maybe need to start digging the heels in now and maybe no waiting to see what happens. And I think Cambuslang, I personally don't think they'll be in any danger of it, to be honest with you, but I get what you're saying in terms of they could easily be dragged in because again, but you've got to think about it. What if Craig Mark do bounce? They do have a
Mhm.
wee bounce when they come back for that, and then all of a sudden you look down and they're no on 0 points anymore. They might
Aye.
be on 4 or 5, and you have no one in your last three, and then before you know it, you're actually on a leave an even keel. So it can
Aye.
change in the matter of a month, basically, and you've got
Some,
to be careful of that. But Paul will know that he's experienced. He's no daft.
nah. Something that actually last season, it's first time in my coaching management time was I've always been fortunate enough to be with teams who were pushing to try and win things.
Hmm.
Craig Mark, something that, and it was, we were very big on it, myself, Nixon and Lee and Crummy, we were very big on, was no bringing up how many points was needed. But you know what it's like yourself, managers will sometimes lie and say, we're only focusing on the next game. That's a lot of shit. It's not the way it is.
No, it's
It's,
not.
you get like the players started going, right, we've got 8 games left. And this is what happened to us with like 8 games left. And we'd be looking at it and going, we need 6 points for the 8 games. Right, we'll get that. And then you lose. And you're like, right, we need six for the next seven. And then you lose. And you'd be like, right, we need six for the next six. And then you would draw. And you're like, shit, we need five for the next five. And it starts
Uh-huh.
getting, it's like you said, it starts getting that kind of weird atmosphere, and boys start to get
Hmm.
worried about things that they weren't worried about 4 weeks before. And aye, it can draw in because even I'm looking at Mary
But you
Hill.
got, so for example, Paul, you went in there then, so you've got that wee bounce at the start. So what changed? So when you went in, how did you approach it? Like, with the, I take it the boys were low in confidence. So
Well,
what
see,
of
to be honest,
using
when
my
we went in,
up?
so Kieran McCrum, who was the club captain at the time, had taken a couple of games after Caddy had left,
Hmm.
and he changed a couple of things, and they won. And then we came in, and we did change the formation and stuff. We changed the way we were playing, and we worked really hard on fitness, and that started to build for us. For me, fitness is the core of everything for you, particularly
Yeah.
at this level. And we started to win, and the boys started to believe. See, because they're fitter. At the end of games, they were nicking goals that maybe.
So was that just a training night thing, or were you getting them to incorporate that out with training?
Oh, we were very big on them doing stuff themselves. Like
Yeah.
as much
Okay.
as we did it with them, I don't think that 2 nights of training a week's enough. See, if you're actually serious about trying to get yourself fit, then that's not enough for you. I mean, there's only so
Well,
much
I
you
agree,
can do.
mate, because for me personally, like I don't see when you take away your warm up, you've got how long with the guys through the
Mhm.
week. You're lucky it's not even 2 hours really
I
when you
know.
think about it. It's not long at all, and I don't want to waste the time that I've got with them on trying to run them. At the end of the
No.
day, I'm a football manager. I'm not a fitness coach. I'm not the guy to get you fit, but we can help you. The sessions can be high intensity and stuff, of course, but at the end of the day, they're coming to play with Craig Matt football team, no Harriers, you know.
Uh-huh.
So it's a bit like you need to find the balance, but it's interesting that because I always like to know that when you go in and you do see that you do see that bounce, and it's always interesting to see like, well, what got the bounce, and I think a lot it is reminding them that they're no bad players, and I
Aye.
think players sometimes they can be the most fragile people in the world. I think that like they start over analysing things, overthinking things, and then you realise that it's almost to forget how good they were.
Aye.
You forget that you were actually one of the best players in this league at one point. You're
Well,
just going to be lulled in it.
something that I'm very, very big on, and I think it annoys boys a lot, is and I find it difficult because you almost feel like players are hating on you because I'm so, in my team coaching, I'm very intense on standards at training where seeing games and that, and you're like, or you're doing, say you're even just doing a box, and it's a big box, and you're just doing a bit of possession. I would never ever be off people's backs. See if they didn't go and press, I'd just
Hmm.
be into shouting, "Come on, you go to press, you go to press." And I could see the boys were like, "Oh, get to fuck." Honestly, it's like they couldn't be bored with it. But they started to buy into it 4 or 5 weeks,
Yeah.
and it got to the stage that people watching on the outside would say, "Oh, the standard of that's not very good because it's breaking down so much." But I looked at it on the other side, and I'm like, it's a small box. If everybody is working like madmen to win the ball back,
Yeah.
it does look like the standard's poor because teams are winning. You're the other team's winning the ball so much, but it's actually not the case because you're upping your quality because you are under pressure so much quicker and you're managing to keep the ball most of the time. And I think that that's something that the boys eventually bought into. And I look at when we played the Medda. I mean, the Medda were a better team than us. I mean, that's like, I'll be 100% honest, and it probably upset some of the Medda fans if they're any listening. My team talk before the game was, I was like, the Medda are a bunch of losers. And boys are looking at me, and you get managers that say stuff. And I was like, no, I says, they're a bunch of losers. I says, look at the league position, they're losing every week. Their attitude, they obviously don't have the mindset, they're losing every week. And I says, but individually, they're probably a better team than we are. Says, they've got a lot of quality in that dressing room, but in their head, they're losers right now because they keep losing and they keep losing. It's not that they're bad players, I didn't mean it that way. And then we went out, battered them for about an hour, just absolutely battered them, ran ourselves into the ground. We kind of ran out of steam a bit, and they took control of the last half hour, and we managed to hold on. But for me,
I
that
think
was
that
that was the big thing.
I think what you're saying there's spot on, and I think sometimes like, and it's maybe not a slight in the previous management team, but I feel as if like, see when you're in that rut, it affects everybody's energy levels, managers included, coaches, everybody, and they might have just not been, they might have been not subconsciously no meaning it, but they might just not have been bringing the energy to it, and it's something that we speak about. I speak to my staff about is the players come to training, but it's up to us to bring the energy. And I always, it probably sounds cheesy, and the boys probably hate me saying it, but I always say energy feeds energy. So if you
Mhm.
see somebody sprinting in front of you, the chances are the guy behind you's going to sprint, and
Aye.
the guy behind him's going to sprint. It becomes like a domino effect, and I think that's important. But as you say, being in there, and I think we're all guilty sometimes of maybe even dratting the standard a wee bit. Like maybe
Mhm.
you go into training and you've had that, and I think at this level it's important where like I know like sometimes if you've had a bad day at work or the players have, it's up to you to almost put your face on to bring them back up
Aye.
again. And my two coaches, especially like with Clarky and Johnny, like they two are like the most positive guys in the world, and I can be a bit dour face
Mm.
sometimes. So sometimes I need to say to them like, "Here, I need you to fucking get this up a wee bit," because
That's what
I'll
you're
end
a
up
team
going in
for.
there too grumpy for it. Do you know what I mean? But it's but I think what you're saying there's it's an interesting insight, and it's probably something that people don't really get a look at often enough. But what you're saying there about your team talk at the Medda, I think that's really good. I wish I could have done that when we played Cali Braze, but I don't even think they've been beat yet. So
They're absolutely flying, I
they
know.
barely conceded a goal, never mind anything
To be
else.
fair, I don't think you could complain too much about your team
No,
talk being
that was all
bad
right. That day.
if you've managed to push a team of that quality that far.
I'll need to
But
get you channel my David Brent soon, but
moving on to the third division, the final two games. Irvine Vics 1, Glasgow United 3, Wishaw 0, Threave 3. That's as a second game at Wishaw, second 3-0 defeat. He's maybe been unlucky in the sense that Dorai look like they're really kicking on. Threave are a good side. They're sitting second in the league now. They're 5 points behind Thorn with 2 games in hand. So potentially they could be looking at putting themselves into first place. I think this will be the Threave will go up this year. I really do. I think that
I think so.
they're looking really strong. Having no seen them, but results wise, they're looking really strong. I mean, they've scored 26 and conceded 8. So they've got a lot of firepower.
Yeah,
Terrible. The boy, what's the boy's name? He scores a lot of goals. Like, I keep seeing him getting mentioned for Threave.
I've not even looked at their teammate to be
I
honest, but
can't remember the boy's name now. It's completely gone. But he's scoring a lot of goals, and they're really firing all cylinders. Wishaw, it's really going to be tough for us, and I hope that even if they do go down, if there's an improvement, that they keep them because it's a really tough. It's 2 points for 9 games. It's such a tough spell they're in just now.
I see just on Threave, obviously when I was down in the south of Scotland League, we played Threave. It's a derby. St Cuthbert's against Threeve's a derby, so it's a bit of a fierce one. I know that they really don't like each other down there, to be honest with you. So
Aye,
I wouldn't say I'm their most favourite person, especially that day. I was getting called all sorts, but it is what it is. But they're an impressive setup. Threave,
aye,
they have a great infrastructure. Their ground's brilliant. What they've got round about it's brilliant. Grass pitch as well, great grass pitch. So they've got a lot going for them. I think they've got a wee bit of financial backing in there as well.
aye.
And they seem to get a lot of the. What I found down there is I kind of felt that the sort of best players were. So they ran round about the Castle Douglas area. So I always felt the best players would go to sort of Dalbeattie or Threave.
Hmm.
And now obviously Dalbeattie were in the Lowland League at the time. And I kind of thought Threave would have already got up by now.
Aye.
So I'm with you though. I'd be pretty surprised if they didn't go up now. Um, on Asa, I was actually with Asa on Friday night. We were watching a 20s game together. And he dragged his bird along to it, so we'll need to get him out there and us. I think. So I with Asa, just speaking to him, it's a case of Rome's no built in a day. He's going to need to take his time with that. And kind of what I've said to him is it's no been a quick fit. It's not been a quick thing in terms of the decline of Wishaw. Like it's been over a case of like 2 seasons, maybe even goes further back. I think we knocked them at the Scottish Cup last year, and they weren't in a great place at that point as well. And so it's not going to. It's took months to get into the situation they're in the now. So it's not going to be dealt with in the space of a month or two. It's going to be a
Well,
project. And one thing as I will do is he'll install standards. They'll have an identity around him, and he'll recruit players for the way that he wants to play. He's pretty open about that. He's pretty similar to myself. It's just the way he does it. And one thing that if the Wishaw things fails, which I don't think it will, I think he'll do a good job. It'll be hard, but I think he'll do a good job. And it might be a case, by the way, that they need to go down to come up. It
mhm.
might be one of them, but I
Sometimes
don't think that's a
it's not
bad
the end of the
thing.
world.
No, I think sometimes it can be a good thing because what as you're saying there, it can get that winning habit back
Mhm.
again. And then all of a sudden you go back into that third division and a bit like the Thorn. So Thorn are in there because they're used to winning.
Aye.
And same with Luger as well. Like Luger went on, I think we were the only ones to take points off of Luger at one
Mhm.
point for like November through at the end of the season. So again, like they're getting into the leagues with a total different mentality of we win games.
Aye.
And I think sometimes that's not a bad thing. And Asa will know that. And for me, I think it's a smart appointment because he's capable of keeping them in the division and pushing them on. But he's also very capable as well that if they drop down, he knows that league as well, and that he can bring them straight back as well.
Well, I'm looking at it for last year's league table. Out a possible 120, sorry, 117 points since last season, Wishaw have picked up 27 points.
Aye, so it's
So that tells you where it is, and that's not an easy quick fix,
no,
particularly
that's
when you
it.
don't have a massive budget to just go and bring in players. So that isn't a quick fix. That's 7 wins and 2 draws in 39 games.
Aye.
Yeah, I mean it's not a quick fix at all.
Well, you've got to think about it. Like obviously, I've been in a similar situation with Rossvale when I went in there. Like Rossvale were, I think they finished ninth in the fourth division, and they obviously had that whole name change scenario, and everything was different, and it had to be a fresh start. And kind of when I went in, I was lucky in the sense that I went in during pre-season before the season started, so I was able to go and have a look at the squad that was there and sign my own sort of players. And you obviously seen a difference the next season, but as has got the hard bit now is he's going in during the season, and that does make it
Aye,
difficult. Because one, he's obviously going to have a lot of players at East Bride where he's brought them there, but he maybe wants to take them to Wishaw, but he can't because it's
aye,
during a
as
season
a
at the end of
contract, aye.
it. In that sense, there's an obstacle there, but he's no shied away from it. It's going to be a challenge, and I think for him it's just a case of short increments throughout the season and try and pick up points where you can and over the piece. But speaking to him yesterday, he said that it was more positive than it was the week before, and I think that's what he should be looking at.
Aye.
And but let's be honest, by the way, teams have went down to Threave and get
Mhm.
hammered,
I know.
so it's no like he's went down there and suffered a right heavy defeat, which probably many would have expected as well. So no, all the best to us. I hope he does well. He puts a lot of time and effort into it as well, so I really hope he does do well. He's one of the guys that he's non-stop with it, and I know most
Aye.
managers are, to be honest with you, but I really hope he does well. That's not just because I'm pal with him. I hope he goes up and he kicks on. And they're
And
a
he's,
good club, Wishaw as well.
aye, I think so as well. Another club who are, I mean, years gone by have done really well in certain competitions and stuff. So it is one that they pick up. Another club for me who are having a real tough time after being somebody I thought were going to get promoted into the second division last season. So Irvine Vic's losing 4-1 to Glasgow United. Glasgow United are a very hit and miss team, won four, lost four in their first eight.
Mm-hmm.
But Irvine Vic's 1 win out of 9. That's 3 defeats in the bounds. I'm struggling to see where it's going to pick up for them just now because it's no been great. And I'm surprised that I've mentioned it previously that obviously losing Doogie has had a bigger impact than they probably would have expected it to. And they need to try and find a way to make it work for them.
Has Dougie stepped away completely for the club altogether?
it's no, I don't know if he's completely away from the club, but I know he's obviously away from management, and it's Stuart, his boy, that's taken there,
Mm.
and he's obviously having a really tough time it just now.
It's a hard one, and again, it's that mentality thing as well. But I thought, did they not beat the Medda? I know they had
Aye,
a.
in the Murmist derby, aye.
So I thought that would have maybe kicked them
Same.
on. 'Cause let's be honest, it's not a friendly. It's
No, definitely isn't
a real confidence booster if you can go and do it. I kind of thought when they picked up that win, I thought they were going to kick on a wee bit, and um, the only thing is they're conceding an awful lot of goals,
it?
and I think that's a case of sometimes like again, but I'm probably one to talk, so I concede my fair share as well. But sometimes I go in and I'm a bit like, you just want to be a wee bit defensively stronger, and that's your win for that week, and then all of a sudden you eventually tuck that into draws. But it's hard to know because you don't know, like, maybe they've identified what it is. Is it injuries? Is it suspect? You don't know. But
Aye,
I think it's important to try and plug away as quick as possible because it can change because you get teams that they do get injuries, they do get suspensions, and a lot of the time I feel at our level is I feel when you meet teams, you need a wee bit of luck involved as well as when you meet them.
aye,
Like, do you get them when they're doing well? Do you get them when they're maybe struggling that day or their injuries or whatever? And like a bit like yesterday, we played Kilburn, but our top goal scorer can't play. It's a wee
aye.
bit, so it's a bit like it's. And by the way, the wee boy that came in for him ended up getting man of the match, but it goes like that, and everyone will just need the Vics will need a wee bit of luck to get themselves out it, but they're no there themselves, and they'll be looking over their shoulder at Wishaw as well if they can manage to even get a draw. Even they get a draw in that, you're only a point behind them,
Exactly.
and as I'll be looking at that as well, looking up the way and kind of being like, well, if they keep dropping points, it gives us another week to build the team, and hopefully we can
But
eventually take over it.
the thing is, you look at like touching on that for Irvin Vicks and Wishaw. For talk's sake, you throw two wins back to back. I mean that would take Irvin Vicks potentially in a 11th or 12th place.
Aye.
Wishaw, that puts them potentially in line with the teams who are all above them. So it isn't a lot because I think Glasgow Uni are going to pick up.
I think Glenville will pick up, and last week
I
took us
think
out
you
quite a
can see
bit
that they're
and
starting to get
big
some
time.
results together. I think it was only a matter of time. And for Lewis, this is a different challenge where last year people maybe say, oh, I had a lot of help for Jamie for the Borough, getting a lot of loan players in and stuff like that. But Lewis has had to be the one to make sure that they've worked well in winning the league. And it's a different challenge for them now going for winning every week to having to struggle to try and get results. But I do agree, I think that they'll push on. I also
I
think
think
they're
the
leaving.
for me with Glenville, Paul, is they've got goals
Aye, sure,
from
you
Brian
Sean
Connor.
Daly and stuff like that, you're going to score
Sean,
goals.
Sean's ridiculous. Brian's brilliant as well.
Mhm.
They've got James. I'll probably end up getting a text for Lewis and Mora because I'm trying to get his players set. But listen, I know them all too well. But obviously, we played them last year, and I think we were one of the very few that managed to beat them last year. But it was a right hard game, and they beat us, we beat them, and they're a top team. And Lewis is a top guy as well, to be honest with you. And he works really tirelessly at it. And I was speaking to him like I think the results were maybe looking a lot worse than what they were on the pitch,
Aye.
and it didn't feel that too much had to be done, and sometimes that's the case. I think, as I said earlier on, you can overthink things, but sometimes it's just changing a little bit of it, and before you know it, it could be the difference between just pulling somebody back 5 yards. It could
Mhm.
generally be that it could be so easy, but because you're so angry at the time, sometimes you can't see it. But for me, like Lewis is quite calm and collected. He doesn't give much away, and he's he can lose his nut. I've seen him on the sideline losing his nut, but in terms of how he analyses the game and I speak to him, he's no daft. He knows what he's doing, and between them and Luger, I expect them to fly up the league. I expected Glasgow United to be doing a bit better than what they were as well,
I
but
thought that as well.
especially with Goody there. Also, I know Goody fake Clyde in that, but he's one of the guys. He can be a one man band at time. Goody, like he was like that at League One and League Two. He just used, people used to kick on the ball and he would just score. But he's a top side. But again, we played Glasgow United at pre-season, and I think it was 3 each or something, and they were a good side. They were a decent side.
Aye.
But again, it's that consistency. It's getting the consistency.
But it's obvious when you say it, but that is the difference, is the consistency. That's why
Uh,
the teams at the top are at the top because they're able to no go 3 and 4 games without winning a game or winning some points and stuff. So it is, definitely is. But look, we'll call it there. I appreciate you stepping in last minute. You've been excellent, mate. I've really enjoyed this tonight, and you've even asked me questions. Nobody ever asked me questions.
I know, mate. I said I think I knew I would be like I always take ages on the things. My jabber, I just talk away. But no, I've enjoyed it, mate. I've enjoyed it. You know what I'm like? I love talking about football. And it's good to see the podcast back as well. To be honest with you, because it's good to see it out and about there, and good to see you getting a wee bit of abuse now and again as well. I quite like that.
That's fine. I'm used to it. I'm used to it. The amount of abuse I get in the house, that's nothing compared to what I can get in football.
That media will build.
I know. Right, but thanks again, mate. If you're up for it, we'll get you on in the next month or two as well.
Excellent, mate. Thanks very much for having me.
Right, everybody, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. As always, like the episode and subscribe to the channel and go out and watch your local team next week. Cheers.